Have you ever wanted to be the protagonist or an actual character of a video game? Well, I surely did, and I also tried that in the past, but it turned out pretty bad. So, this time I wanted to give it another try, making a character so good that it will be impossible for you to tell that it's not me. So, this is the story of how I became the protagonist of my horror games. So, the first thing I did was to get a 3D scan of my face by using a technique called photogrammetry, a process to create a 3D model from a set of pictures. This works surprisingly well, even without any expensive tool. In this case, just a phone and an app called Reality Scan. But before proceeding with the scan, I needed some preparation. First, I needed to set up the lights. A face well lit will drastically improve the quality of the scan. And then I just dyed my hair, which might sound dumb, but it isn't. You see, you don't want any hair covering your face, because believe me, the hair will certainly fuck up the scan. And with everything set up, I was ready to start scanning. During this step, it's super important that you keep your face relaxed. Like me. Look at my beautiful relaxed face. Then I proceeded to polish the scan. You see all these craters and my crispy nose? Well, they will not only make your face look not very sexy, but they will also be a big problem later. So first I got rid of the extra geometry like clothes and hair, and then I started to smooth out the face. And by the way, isn't it super cool to be able to create a 3D model from just a bunch of pictures? It blows my mind if I think about it. Okay, now that I made my face look sexier, I used the feature of Unreal Engine called Mesh to MetaHuman. And I know that you have no idea what I'm talking about. So let me explain. MetaHumans are high fidelity and customizable characters that you can use for free in your games. The Mesh instead is my 3D scan. I mean, that's kinda a lie, but in this context it's not. And this is the actual result. At the first glance you might tell that this already resembles my face, and it's crazy that such a powerful feature exists totally for free. But before getting too excited, let me talk about a major problem with MetaHuman. Hairstyles. MetaHuman hairstyles are terrible. So I picked this hairstyle which is very similar to the one I had about 20 kilos ago. Yeah, this is me 20 kilos ago. But now at least you understand why I picked this hairstyle. And now we start the very tedious process of adjusting my face to perfectly match the picture of me. Working with a reference side to side helps a lot to spot minor differences between you and your MetaHuman. It's not an easy task though. Take your time, play some music, eat some cookies, but you need to be extremely patient. After about 2 hours keep tweaking and adjusting my face, I realized that I fucked this up. Not sure who this is, but this ain't me. I realized that my face scan was kinda bad because I didn't take enough pictures. By smoothing out my face, I lost precious details that will not be picked up by my MetaHuman. So I decided to scan my face again. But since I forgot to record this part, let me mirror the clip. And there you go. Let's pretend this is the correct one. Here you can see in comparison the quality of the previous and the new scan. The new scan is way better, without any processing. For the previous scan I took 60 pictures. For the new one instead, 162. And surely enough, the new MetaHuman looks way better now. The face looks a bit too long maybe, but I can tell, that's my face. Now instead it's time to address the hair problem. The only solution I came up with is to learn to make them myself. So I watched a couple of tutorials and I managed to learn the basics. As a non-artist, I can tell you that making hair has been way easier than I expected. To make very good looking hair though, of course takes a longer time. But to get started is very simple to be honest. And after 2 long hours of work, I got to this result, which for me is great. The hair is kinda messy, but so is mine, which is totally okay for me. Then I started to work in my opinion on the hardest thing in this entire project. Making clothes. But before doing that, I took some references of my clothes and adjusted the body to match more my belly 20 kilos later. So, making clothes is super hard, especially since I'm going for a realistic looking type of game. But I wanted to give it a try anyway, and in my opinion, I found a very clever way to make clothes. I got inspired by this video, where basically, instead of making the clothes from scratch, she used the body as a sort of mold and used it to sculpt the actual dress. So I wanted to give it a try, but I wasn't aware of how hard this would have been. The first challenge has been to sculpt around the arms. The metahuman is in an A pose instead of a T pose, making it almost impossible to sculpt around the armpit. But I didn't get discouraged and I kept going. And to be honest, the sweater was coming together quite nicely. And after importing the sweater in a real engine and setting up a wool material, I can say I did a pretty good job for being my first time. I don't remember exactly what I was doing here, but this made me laugh so hard. So enjoy this cool dance. So I kept working on the sweater for about 1 week, trying to make it better for my character. Until I reached this result. This looks so bad, and I've been kinda demoralized at this point. Instead of progressing, it was getting worse. The sweater looks like it's made out of clay. It's just awful. So, after 1 week of trial and error, I gave up and decided to buy the clothes from an actual artist. I found this amazing sweater that looks very similar to the one I have here. And surely enough, I quickly found out that the sweater doesn't fit the metahuman, even if it's labeled as metahuman compatible. I'm not sure if I did something wrong here, but at this point I got kinda frustrated. I decided to buy the clothes exactly to avoid this type of problems. But then I had a light bulb moment. I spent an entire week working on clothes using the sculpting tools in Blender, right? It was time to put all this knowledge into use. So I imported the character and the sweater in Blender and manually fit it to the body. And you know what? It worked way better than I would ever imagine. It didn't even take that long, to be honest. I know this solution might sound obvious, and probably it is, but as an artist I felt so satisfied when I re-imported the sweater and found out that my idea actually worked. I got confident again. In fact, I purchased a pair of cargo pants, which I totally vibe with, and a pair of shoes from the same artist. Surely enough, they share the same problem as the sweater, but no big deal, right? So I used the same approach as before to fix the cargo pants, without any problem. Then I also started to fit the shoes to my character. No big deal, right? Or so I thought. I guess this is a bug of the new Unreal Engine clothing system, rather than a problem with the 3D model. But when I try to import the shoes as a metahuman cloth, you can see these stretched lines. I spent days trying to figure out the problem. Poor geometry, too many vertices, I don't know. I was about to give up. Nothing worked and no solution I found online actually helped. And then, the miracle. I was playing around with the mesh import settings and I found this flag, import sim mesh. I disabled that and like magic the problem has been solved. I'd love to tell you more about this problem, but I swear, even now I have no idea why disabling mesh simulation actually fixed it. And then, as the last step, I decided to match the color of the clothes with the color from the reference. And there you go, finally my character is complete, and in my personal opinion, it turned out fantastic. The last time I attempted to turn myself into a game character, in my opinion I failed in creating a character that fully looks like me. This time instead it's different. Maybe it doesn't 100% look like me, but it's kinda obvious that this time the character is actually me. And I couldn't be any happier. So, what do you think? Do you think the game character I made actually looks like me, or not? What? Porca puttana.